you just tell us a little bit before you start, just to confuse everyone a little bit more? Could you just describe exactly the nature of, or how you told me in one line what your exact kind of profession is?
I'm a specialist of the flutes since the beginning of the music in the humanity. I play prehistoric reconstruction flutes made in some bones of different animals, like the swan, by example. And I play Celtic and medieval and a little bit baroque and jazzy style music, electro flute, and I mix everything together. I'm an elvish musicologist.
And that's the term. That was the term that got me yesterday. An elfish.
Yeah.
An elfish. So repeat, please. Sorry.
Yeah, elfish. An elfish musicologist. Yes,
musicologist.
I am. Yeah. And I call my project of with this music flutosphere. It means atmospheric flutes. Flutosphere.
Wow. Where we're all around us right now is the Glastonbury levels. It's basically where the Sea of Avalon, and where we Max Lance came and stayed in a caravan over on the levels up behind me. And all this land was reclaimed once. This was the mythological land where King Arthur's sword was thrown. So that's where we are, and it's a sacred time. It's always a sacred time, but right now we are in sacred moments, because we are so close to making some terrible mistakes, but we're so close to really waking up and seeing that we could charter a different journey. We could charter a much higher journey right now. Imagine we're just a few days into a completely different timeline already. That already you've changed the nature of the outcome. Already. That there is already a possible future. There always has been. Great knowledge, great wisdom has always been here. That's what you are. That's what we are together. Bless you, my son. Thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing magic. Ascending to the heavenly realms. Hi, ladies and gentlemen, Dave Dobbs here. So it's this is kind of an extension to the video I started on the 1st of April. Because we've got about 12 days, till this extension, or till this extension ends, and obviously there's desperate deals going on in the government. But now it's actually the 4th of April, and I've just been dealing with kind of like my own kind of like dramas I've got on this end of with everything else. So I had a bit of a flu yesterday, or started as a flu and then just turned into a fever. But dealing with that and dealing with my mum, and just kind of like playing with some ideas about the most recent sighting. Before I talk about some other bits and pieces, let's just do a quick share here, and I'm just trying to do it via Zoom here. Dave Dobbs. So we've got this. Let's push that up over here. One shake, and we're just gonna play this one through and just open that out. So I'm just going to hold that there, and two Dobbs objects. Oh Lord.
So we've known that there's been 2 objects since about 2012 or 13. We had a sighting. Do you remember when we had the massive meteorite that exploded over Russia? And that could have been 2013, which means if it was February 2013, I'll probably in a bit we'll go through some the timeline a little bit more as we do, but on this channel as we explore this more and more. But it was around about that time it was first observed. I know in 2017, well, I'm of an opinion in 2017 in June, around about 24th, 25th, 26th maybe, that Becky Lewis caught 2 objects, and she also caught 2 objects. When would it have been? It would have been March, around about March the 28th. Isn't that interesting? It's all around about this same time again. March the 28th, February, March the 28th, I believe, 2016. So we know we and there's been other shots of the pair of them. But what's interesting was that if I let's just play that a little bit more, just so you can get a little bit of a view of that. And you see, I'm of a mind that what we experienced is, let me just come out of that one shake here, and let's just go to let's just move that down here for a shake, and could it be that one? Well, let's just look at this one here, 7 Spalding. This date was on the published on March the 17th. March the 17th. Now, just watch that footage for a shake, because I'm of a mind this whole system up here is a planet coming in, and it's moving it's moving very, very faster. Now what happens here is suddenly he's lost a certain amount of footage, and he comes in, he moves his camera across, he comes in, and to basically he's basically pressed record, but he's paused his recording, and then bang, it suddenly turns into this massive thing. And so this is the speed it came in, and you really just see him just observing this incredible massive thing that's just coming in, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you really start seeing it's just going straight across the sun from our perspective. Something's happening massive there. And then, you know, if we look at that and we look at the chimney here, and this above the chimney, you've got 1, 2 kind of dips in these kind of like trees here, and it's kind of above that second dip, that second little kind of like bunch of branches there, bush, or where it pushes out. Directly above, if we go back, do we get another shot of that? So we've got the first bunch here and the second bunch here. It does look as if it has moved down towards this way, but imagine if that's literally coming towards us. So it's not so much coming towards us because it's still a long way away from us, actually, because it's tiny compared to. So that was on the 17th of. That was on the 17th of March. Then we have this video which I shot on the 4th of March, which I guess this I shot on the 2nd of March. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of it, really, but this looked like this massive great flyby. I mean, it had all the trail, it had all the characteristics of what we're expecting, except it turned up at a time that was completely unexpected. It turned up at a time when I was expecting it. I'll show you where I was expecting it, but let's just look at the structure of that so we get an idea of what they look like. So we saw it coming in there, and then to me, we saw something coming back out. See, that's between us and the sun, which is the other confusing thing. Is it's between us and the sun, and we've just seen it on the. Let me just do a stop share here, and let's just share my. Let's just go straight onto this video. Let's try, and is that going to be in the way for this? Let's put it up there for shake. Let's put that over there for shake, and then okay, so these sightings here, notice where we were charting it quite happily. Going out here, we had all the shots. Remember that relentless maverick shot? We had that shot, Jim saw that shot. When was that? It was January 16th. Excuse me, I'll show you. Okay, so sorry about that. I just had that was a call from my mum, actually. Bless her. She's having a lot more treatment now. I mean, she just, it is what it is, I guess, you know. Bless her. But anyway, so yeah, there was that Roger Poole shot, which is very similar to the shot that I got. I can't remember what the date of it now. I've just pulled it up, and maybe it was around March the 2nd or something like that. I'll go back to it in two shakes, but just well, actually, it's quite important, actually. So let's just go back and just get the exact date that I had that down. So it was I think it was the 2nd. That was on, okay, the 4th of March. So it would have been the 2nd of March. So let's go back now to, I'm just doing it kind of like this, one sharing than the other, because sometimes it doesn't go across and then I'm left making all the effort and the video's not, it hasn't showed you the right screen. So so we had that shot there from Roger Poole. You saw the relentless maverick shot. You know, we Nibiru's News Live, he published that. You know, and then we're coming round here to this point. I'm of a mind that NATO is gonna have its kind of, this, I can imagine this area here is going to be, I can imagine is going to be I'm not too sure whether I've got the proximity of these correct either, you know. I'm not too sure how much. What I'm of a mind is what we've just seen here is this second object. And this second object must be having a very similar orbit, but inside, which means it has these 2 points of crossing. And what we've just witnessed is adding so much confusion, but because it's come in here, crossing here on the 4th, because we already had that sighting. We've already had that sighting, as I've just shown you, sort of like Roger Paul, Jim Saar. We had so many shots. We had NASA just announcing, or the US government just announcing that there was a massive asteroid, bigger than 10 Hiroshima bombs, that occurred just about here, just when we knew exactly it was going over us, but evidence that it had actually already passed us by that stage, and we were in closer proximity to the tail. And like I say, all of these details, you know, you can see me right or wrong. I've this specific transit, you know, we've observed just too many times now and getting bigger. And this transit here that we come into now is, you know, I say this drops back a month behind this, you know, because it takes 400 days to do one complete, or 396 days to do one complete rotation. And obviously our Earth takes 365 days. You've got this month difference, and so it drops back a month each time, each cycle, which has made the kind of tracking of this very, very, very difficult and very complex. And then just when we get it, suddenly we get completely thrown anomaly. We know we've already seen one passing through there, and suddenly on the 4th of March, we see another transit, exactly the same as that transit, looking exactly the same thing. And then we get the same thing over here. You know, we're expecting it to come into view at that stage, not to have the massive flyby that Seven Spalding caught. Having a rough idea of where the dead center point, the main central gravitational hub of this system lies. We are pretty close to the mark here where this system is. We've been going past it. We've seen all the second sun shots and everything else like that. We've been going past it. We've been having epic views of this system just lately as we've been going past it. And we've had these two other cross points here. I mean, you know, as if one Nibiru is difficult enough to believe in, suddenly we have absolute empirical evidence. And then just go on, obviously, we just get these sites. You know, so just to finish that, that's a 13-day period. Just to try and give, I don't know if anyone wants to throw their mind at that and try and get some. You think there's 365 days in a year. That's nearly 360. So when we're talking about a 13-day period of it coming in and going back out again on its orbit in that aspect, if that's what's happened, that's like 13 degrees almost from, that would be equivalent to 13 degrees from the sun, from our perspective from the sun. But imagine from here coming out across that same point would be a slightly wider angle. You know, it could be as much as, because it's half the distances, could be as much as double, if that makes any sense. You can almost double that angle, which means that, I mean, I don't know how we could view that, but I'm sure using the points of those of the exit points, the crossing, if you like, of it crossing here, coming back round and crossing here, this twin tail object that is on a smaller orbit than this Nibiru, whatever we're offering. I mean, I see them as Shiva and Parvati. I've known about the pair for a long time. The twins, as Alex Lujan calls them. You know, there's just like, we've seen both going in. We've seen one do this flyby here. We know it's going to come back. It's going to come back round, and then, well, we don't know, but we're realizing it's done this because we already had the flyby here. So how can we suddenly get another flyby here? We know there's two objects. We know we're in the center. We're near the central hub of the red Kachina and the blue Kachina, this dwarf planet, our second sun, that is currently passing through our solar system. And it has. I mean, now I'm realizing that really it is 169 year orbit. It really is. There's no doubt in my mind anymore because of that. It's taken me a lot. You know, you've worked with me on this process, and well, just just to say that the shot that just recently hit two Dobbs objects that we'll have a look at again in a shake. But we are looking across. If we're around about where that, yeah. So we're seeing this thing come in now, and we're seeing this other one, obviously cutting off in between us and the sun, cutting off this way, and one coming in from which has just come in from the night sky and has just entered our daylight sky, basically. It's just entering our daylight sky. Let me just stop the pause there and just go over to share, and we'll go back to, well, this was an interesting story that Evolutionary Energy Arts put up. He posted it on the 2nd, and it was just he just put up the Carrington event, and I just thought, when was the Carrington event? And so 1859, and that's basically 169 years ago. Well, roundabout, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that ironic? That it fits in, because we're just starting to realize that this thing has been here all along. This thing has always been here. It's always been going round, and it's been regulating what's been happening on this Earth, and indeed all of the planets, it seems, are all, certainly the inner hub, Mars, Earth, and Venus, seem to be in the range of these two planets. So these seem to be the kind of regulating points on this planet that let me just stop the share there, and these seem to be the regulating points. These seem to be the regulating bodies. They're God for all intensive purposes, and whatever powers run them that operate this system. And this thing has been taken over for a long time by institutions and cabals and whatever, like religions. And we have to address the fact that there are two of these objects, and we now, as far as I can see, well, when was that? Let's go back to Safari. That date of that was on the March the 30th. So we know that one of them has just gone by. This one basically has just gone by. We saw it on the on the 17th. 7 Spalding. I'm of mind caught that on the. It's. I might be wrong, but we're expecting this to come into view, and it would seem that we're going to get closer to this one now. We're going to start tracking closer and closer and closer to that. Remember, this was 7 in the evening. So it's rising up from the night sky into our daylight sky, if you like now. It's come in from our night sky. Do you see what I'm saying? And this is sunrise on this side of Earth. This is going to be the sunrise. And this is sunset on this side. So those looking out over here are seeing, and that's where this is being seen. It's coming in from our night sky. And like I say, we've obviously had this second orbit that's inside here, and we've watched it many times now. Well, I say many times. There's only been about 4 or 5 different shots of it, but each time it's been, you know, we're just learning to calculate that now. So so that's where we are at the moment. That's where we are in terms of the movements. We know it's coming in. We know that we're pretty much sure that we are going to start. Is my April prediction? It's the 4th of April today. My April prediction is it for this is going to be closer proximity. You know, around about sort of like it's still so difficult. And when I redo this model, I really struggle to even recreate this model sometimes. You know, it's obviously already a very basic model, but is the only point it can affect us in this kind of like it could be argued that the only point, because this orbit is not fixed, obviously, because this whole system has been moving through our solar system. So this orbital track has always been, if you like, descending down through the ecliptic plane, if you like, if it is an ecliptic plane, which I'm in serious doubt. But as it's been shifting through through the solar system, so this orbital track has obviously been moving with this system. So there's always been a difference in terms of transital kind of like positions of, you know, compared compared to Earth. So there's so much that we're still not totally sure of the closest point of crossing. We're of a mind it's here at this passage, but has it been over here? Is it, you know, what else can we expect? What can we expect at this point here, and then at this point underneath here, and then at this point over here? I mean, this point in my mind, it should be getting further and further away. This point should also be getting further and further away. Will we be closer to the tail this time? How does it work? You know, these are desperate attempts to try and understand its movements. I might be so far wrong, but you know, I said you'd see a flyby now, and my God, you haven't just seen one, you've seen the pair again. Right on schedule, if you like, except that the Anomalous kind of flyby on the 7th Spalding caught on the 17th, and I caught myself on the 2nd of March. You know, we have to kind of bring this second object into this, and we have to also accept that it is going to complicate our observations in this area, because we have so much more activity to consider now as we transit this whole aspect here. But this is about the most normal thing that our planet does. Go past this system every over 169 years. And whatever is of war is removed. And we're forced, man, dark energies with dark agendas force us into wartime environments. So we are susceptible to lower vibrational influence during this time. And that's what's happening at the moment. And I've always talked about what Brexit is about. And we're now the 4th of April since I'm making this. And we come to that point now where we get closer to the 12th of April. And And if we crash out of Europe, maybe the Brexiteers will, like I say, will get their sovereignty. But as I constantly ask, because I hear everyone who wants sovereignty. I had someone the other day coming up at a friend's party saying, "I know you're with me, Dave. I know you're with me. I know you think we should leave and we should just get on with it and da da da." And I said to him, "Well, no, I'm not with that at all." I said, "I think we should stay and be part of Europe." And for many reasons, but because of my own kind of process, my own message and all of this. And he said, and I asked him, I said, "Can I ask you?" I said, if you won this sovereignty that will fall into the Queen's hands, if you won this sovereignty through this Brexit system, would the government not go and sign a free trade agreement with America immediately, which would completely give up on all those sovereign values you'd originally talked about? Would they sign you up to a free trade agreement with America? And he squirmed on that. He squirmed on that because he knows where they would. And it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword for all parties here, you see, because when you surrender so much in one fell swoop, as you would do to such an agreement, all sovereignty disappears. Corporate profit is the only legislation on the table. Everything is up for grabs. That's why it's such a dangerous thing to surrender. For America, you feel like you might have, you've got this big wealthy kind of system, but you could be crippled by this in your own way because you don't know how low the agenda could drop in Britain. You just do not know how low this could go. And if this goes low and the agenda pushes and it buys its way in through these corporate laws to take the vibration to sort of super low depth, to feed everything into a NATO war, to smash up the Union and drive Germany and any nation that doesn't jump in bed with this new whatever it is that will be behind it, will be total war, total aggression thrown up against Russia. Europe just fed into this war against Russia. Germany punished. Again, this same old story, make America great again, which basically means break everywhere else. Don't leave, guys. You leave Europe, it will be the most tragic thing that has happened to this country. It will be a country that was remembered from two queens, the Queen Elizabeth, who did things one way, and Queen Elizabeth II, who did things another way. And to try and blame Europe for all the depleted uranium the British government dumped on Iraq in the form of depleted uranium bombshells in the 2003 invasion of Iraq. To try and blame Europe for all of this, to try and blame Europe for every aspect of all the warring ways of NATO and try and throw it all onto Europe. I see that there are massive problems with the European Union, and there's, it's the European Commission, and I see the European Commission that's doing what it does, but we have to also understand that the European Commission is actually made up of all the heads of state of the countries that are members of the European Union. And that voice is dependent on how effective each member country's democratic system is. The healthier the democratic system in the member country, the healthier their relation and their relationship to the European Union will be. There is a way of getting through this and realizing, there's no democratic process in NATO. And NATO is the one that's driving all these wars. NATO was the one that led us into a war against Libya. when we had the big 2011 kind of like, you remember Fukushima on the 11th of March 2011, and then a week later, David Cameron takes us to war with Libya. Should have been dropping aid on Japan, not dropping bombs on Libya. There's always vibration lowering when this thing is around, to drive us into fear and to make it's like the whole universe is just there, peering through this portal to us and going, "Hi!" And they just terrorize us through that period, so we don't connect with that space and stay with that space and hold that space in our hearts and become that, embody that, live that. Not live this story of hate and division and war and all the rest of it that they drive. Oh, this blame, massive blame on Europe. It's just like, just to get this big free trade agreement that just rots the core of any sovereign system, because you have no sovereignty there, because it's all dollars and no cents, or whatever the new currency will be. Everything is up for grabs. So another long message, I guess. And, you know, we're like the 4th today, so we've got about sort of like 8 days left. And more hangs in the balance than you can ever realize. You know, I don't know truly if it's going to be round about now that we start going into this. They're going to desperately try and rush their deal through, because they haven't got a lot of time left before it becomes very apparent that something big is going to be affecting us in this next transit. So they're going to try and rush this through because it's very predictable what's happening. Although, like I say, going very quickly back to the QuickTime player here with my previous video, at this point here, like this always seems to come around about the 21st, doesn't it? About the 20th of January. This seems to be this point here and this point over here. You know, it's difficult to say, but it could be that it's so difficult to say, because you have to imagine, if this whole ring is descending down this way, this aspect here sits higher than this aspect down here, and it's moving down, and this is going to be one click further back, and this is going to have dropped down however much by that stage. I mean, the reason we're seeing all these shots of the sun at the moment, or all the nemesis shots and all the wonderful anomalies, is because this whole system is now further away from the sun than it's been for a very, very long time. More than, you know, the last time it was this distance was, you know, well, I'm of a mind that it was this system crossing the ecliptic in 2011 and 2010. 2011 was the crossing point. But one could argue differently. One could argue that, you know, there's many ways of looking at that, of having an idea of how that works. Could that have crossed in 2004? That crossed in 2010, 11. That caused the big tsunami in 2004, and this caused the big tsunami in 2010. This caused the 2011 Fukushima disaster. Could it be that it was this inner orbit that caused the Fukushima disaster and the 2010 8.8 in Chile, the 1 year and 13 days before, which gave a 13-day difference in astronomical position between these 2 days? We get 2 absolutely massive seismic earthquakes, bigger than anything we normally see, and there's a 13-day difference in astronomical positioning there. You've got to take that in consideration, considering that considering 2 3 nuclear power stations blew their tops off, and all the nuclear radiation is spewing out as a result. And now we just have Extinction Rebellion and I can't remember her name now. Is it Greta? What's her name? We just go up to Greta. I can't remember her. Greta Thunberg. So she's just won Greta Thunberg has just won the Nobel Prize. For her massive awareness campaign to some of the problems happening in the earth. But I don't know if you've noticed how it's all built around. I mean, she totally believes in what she's saying, and I'm obviously of a mind that, you know, that her whole kind of message has led to this massive kind of like carbon problem. We're talking about this massive carbon problem. Now, like I'm saying, is if all of these flybys that we're experiencing are showing that it is volcanoes and big earthquakes under the oceans, but big volcanoes and big seamounts also under the ocean, volcanoes under the oceans that are pumping out carbon dioxide to levels unprecedented, we've never seen before. And if we can see that, you know, we saw the carbon spike, Al Gore's carbon spike, but even Al Gore couldn't explain why, you know, the carbon reached a peak in 1939, which was when Carlos Ferrada said it would reach its peak, where we'd see the big transit, we'd have the big earthquake in Chile in 1939. We get carbon dioxide at its maximum peak then, and then it drops down to 1970, just perfectly down, gets to about 1970, and it starts coming back up again. And so this is how we've seen, I'm of a mind, Planet X, our second sun, this dwarf planet, whatever you want to call it, Herculosis, Nemesis, the red Pacina, whatever you want to call it. We witnessed that going over the top of our sun, and just as Carlos Ferrada predicted in the late 90s, it came back through. We were told it was Comet Halley-Bopp. Now we've watched the transit of that coming through, and we've slowly adjusted to the massive changes. But if we are going to blame carbon dioxide on a human-caused problem, what are we going to do? The last time we really pushed this, we've made a billion new cars, 1,000 million new cars, in the name of making more economical cars. Each one, like I always say, consuming 100 times more fuel in its manufacture than the car we use in its lifetime. And when you're looking at this, and you're looking at the whole story that we're in, you know, we're talking about putting a massive limit on carbon dioxide. What are we going to do? Just switch off the volcanoes? What you have to realize is that it is war that draws this system closer to us. It is aggression. It is what NATO is driving in our world right now. Just endless aggression, endless war. And that is what draws this system closer into us. And we are being driven up and under the wheels of Earth's own God. If we depart Europe, Britain, and America, you have to understand that it's a two-way street. And if you do a deal with this, you will be more shafted than you can ever realize. That sovereignty that you truly value, you're watching getting carved up. You sign this agreement, you're as doomed as we are. It is not an agreement that's good for any of us. And all that lies at the core of where that contract sits that will not be tolerated on this planet, not with this level of intelligence. So you either go back to the Stone Age, back to bows and arrows, or you act responsibly. But this story that carbon dioxide is all caused by as a human problem, to ignore the massive volcanoes and earthquakes that are clearly pumping massive volumes of carbon dioxide, showing clearly in working exactly with the movements of this system, as proved by Carlos Ferrada's prediction. He put his entire reputation on the line to say in advance that there would be a massive earthquake at that time, exactly in that place because of that. It was massive then. You know, the talk of Planet X was massive then, just as it is now. We've just been slowly catching up. But you realize that the journey that you're heading, if you leave, if you try and break the European Union, if you achieve it, yes, you will be sovereign to your queen. It is true. But as soon as she signs that agreement, if she manages to sign that agreement, maybe America pulls out on that and think, actually, maybe that's a dangerous thing for us as well. Maybe she hasn't properly weighed up Trump's supposed power. You know, this story's going to go which way it goes, but just understand that once you leave Europe, big challenges lie ahead. Big challenges lie ahead either way. They do, truly. It's not going to be easy. But by leaving Europe, you accept that you choose to accept that which the Queen and that which is behind the Queen have pushed in these NATO agendas to do the crimes that have been done in the Middle East and lots of other places on this planet. It is deemed that you have been dominated by these forces, but through Brexit, you've actually given all power to these forces, which means that that karma boot, which belongs to her, also belongs to us. That is truly our karma. We have voted for it. We are wanting to be part of that agenda more than anything else. And we know what NATO will do. We know what NATO does. Look at how NATO membership with Brazil and both Colombia is forcing them into attacking. You know, that's their membership. If you want in, you've got to fight for it. This is an aggressive frontier. Europe didn't do it. And time is running out. Take care.
So we've done it. We've done the video up on the tour. We've done a little ceremony. I don't know what it means. I just feel like, you know, Britain could have so been out of Europe by now. And the fact that we're still in is a miracle right now for me. Every moment that passes from this point on to me is sacred time, because it's a possible future beyond this horrible separation that we're being sold. Like, we all want Brexit. And it's so ugly, especially when you get lovely people like Maxence coming over from France, and it's not a good look, Brexit, is it? Really, pretty ugly look. And then as soon as we get delivered it, they're already talking about carving you up and signing up a deal with America, a nice free trade deal. So right now is sacred time. Right now we've got this big alliance, and I like it, you know? And I want to keep that alliance, and I think many of you do now, are starting to see through what this is all about. So on that note, just thought I'd bring you some music today, some good vibrations, and just say, you know, I'm in a good space. I think my mum's in a good space.
Not surprising.
Hopefully my country's in a good space, and he's going to try and get to some good navigation skills now. Anyway, thanks for your time. Ciao.